Well, hello everyone. I'm Sibyl Star, and I'm here to give the astrology forecast for the Virgo full moon lunar eclipse of 2025, the spiritual wisdom of the blood moon. The only way out is in. So, this full moon lunar eclipse is a total eclipse, and so it's called a blood moon because that's when the moon turns red. And there's many factors that determine just how red the moon is. It may go anywhere from pink to orange to bright red, and we'll just have to see what it is when it happens. Anyway, let me show you the chart for this lunar eclipse. First off, though it occurs on March 13, 14, depending on where you are, at 24 degrees of Virgo at 11:55 p.m. on March 13th here Pacific time. Okay, but if you're in other time zones, most of the world, it will be on the early morning hours of the 14th. All right, so let me share with you the chart. Okay, here we go. All right, so here is the chart of the full moon. Like I said, here on the west coast of California, it's on March 13th at 11:55 p.m. Whereas it's March 14th for from much of the rest of the world. So what we have here is we have a lunar eclipse always occurs at the full moon. It's never any other time. And so we have here the sun is at 24 degrees of Pisces, 56 minutes. So we would just say 24 degrees because it's so close. Opposite the moon, which is eclipsed at 23 degrees, 56 minutes of Virgo. And so the moon is conjunct the south node and the part of Earth, whereas the sun is conjunct Saturn at 22 degrees of Pisces, the North Node, which is the way forward, at 27 degrees of Pisces, and Neptune at 29 degrees of Pisces. We also have Ceres here at 7 degrees of Pisces. So we once again have 5 points in Pisces opposite these 3 points in Virgo. So the Virgo Pisces axis is strong. Now, the ruler of this full moon is Mercury here at 9 degrees, 31 minutes of Aries, and Mercury is stationary. Mercury meaning that it's getting ready to turn direct. It turns, excuse me, getting ready to go retrograde, and it will go retrograde the next day. And it just really depends on where you are, the 14th or the 15th. Venus is at 7 degrees, 44 minutes of Aries, a retrograde. Venus went retrograde at 10 degrees, 49 minutes of Aries on March 1st. What else have we got here going on? Okay, so we have Mars. Mars is still a player. Mars is here at 18 degrees of Cancer. Mars is direct now and is in a square to Chiron. This is an ongoing square, and Mars is actually still in a trine with Saturn. And that's going to get closer as Mars kind of speeds up more. All right, what else have we got? Oh, we've got Uranus, which is trine the full moon, is trine the moon, the eclipsed moon, and we still have uh, Pluto in Aquarius, where he's going to be for a long time, and in a wide conjunction with Athena. All right, I think those are the major points we're going to be covering in this reading. Okay, so now let's talk about what all of that actually means. So, as I said, it is a total lunar eclipse, also known as a blood moon. The energy lasts for around 6 months. It's visible in all of North and South America, and partial viewing in parts of Europe, Asia, Australia, Africa, the Pacific, Atlantic oceans, the Arctic, and Antarctica. So it's visible in many places. And what happens at a lunar eclipse is that the light of, because we know the moon has no light of her own. She's reflecting the light of the sun. And so it is when the light of the sun is eclipsed by the shadow of the earth. The shadow of the earth eclipses, comes in between the sun and the moon. And it changes the electromagnetic field of the earth for that period. And this is not a long eclipse. It lasts a very short time, but during that time, the light of the sun is not prevalent. And the thing is, we know everything in our solar system is made of photons of the sun. So this actually allows more cosmic energy to come in during this time. And many ancient peoples, they were really in touch with they were in touch with the energy of Mother Earth in probably a closer way than we are now, and they could really feel the changes. And so during this time, many ancient peoples would go indoors and pray. Some would get in salt water, whatever they could um, to not be impacted by these changes in such a big way. All right. And a blood moon is more than just a natural event. It symbolizes change, transformation, and powerful energy. Some Native American tribes believed the blood moon was a time to honor the ancestors and seek wisdom. Many ancient traditions see it as a time to reflect on your life and make important decisions. In Hindu mythology, it is associated with divine intervention and cosmic balance. And eclipses are always a catalyst they're harbingers of change. They show us that change is coming because the field of Mother Earth has changed. So it's really impacted us that way. And things that have been hidden often come to light. And with the lunar eclipse, it often impacts our personal world and relationships, more than the outer world. But it can also impact the outer world. And this is what is called a south node lunar eclipse, because an eclipse always occurs when the sun and moon are within 17 degrees of the nodes of the moon. Okay. And so this is called a south node lunar eclipse because it impacts the south node, which is our past. And so it brings with it an ending before a new beginning can begin. So, and it may come suddenly. And the new beginning is going to start with the Aries solar eclipse. So this is more of a time of endings, of going within, and the changes that are taking place within ourselves before they manifest in the outer world with the solar eclipse. And also Neptune's entrance into Aries on March. So the Aries eclipse occurs on March 29th, and Neptune enters Aries on March 30th. And that's a really big deal because Neptune has not been in Aries for 168 years. It's been in Pisces for the last almost 14 years. Well, 12 years steadily, and then a year kind of back and forth between uh, other signs. All right. It is a karmic closure. So we're being asked to let go of what no longer serves you. It may be a cycle in your life is really ending, and we're being asked to let it go because it's no longer serving you. There is something new that wants to be born. And this is a super full moon that impacts the emotional body, the tides, the behavior of animals, and even Mother Earth rises 6 inches to meet the moon when the moon is full. And like I said, anyone in any kind of service work can tell you that things do get crazy around the full moon, and especially with a blood moon lunar eclipse. So we can really see heightened emotional reactions. So it's really important to try to stay calm in the midst of that. All right. So first off, we have the big conjunction of the Sun, Saturn, North Node, and Neptune in Pisces. And of course, this is actually opposite the moon in Virgo. So it's the Pisces Virgo axis is very much about the practical mystic. It's walking the mystical path with practical feet. So during this time, we might receive powerful messages from spirit with direct guidance of how to bring something into form. The moon is conjunct the part of Earth, which is about giving form. And so it's like messages from spirit that are coming through, but also with guidance of how to bring it into form. Spiritual wisdom and inner guidance is strong right now. So it's important to slow down, to be able to really listen to what is coming through. And with so much Piscean and Neptunian energy, it's learning how to really listen to our inner GPS, our inner guidance, because the normal guidance from the outer world is just is more confusing. It's just not giving us the guidance that we need. I liken this to when we lose power and all the lights are turned off at night, and we have to learn to find our way around in a room through our inner senses. We might stub our toes a few times before we really start being able to be aware of where the furniture is and where everything is. But we have this inner guidance, and that's what's being activated. And it's also a time to remember that we are never alone. We can always ask for help, for guidance in this spirit world in these times of great change. The spirit world is every bit as real as the physical world, the world of the invisible. And it's important to remember that and to ask for help. With Pisces, it's also a time of following divine flow and surrender. Surrender to the process, follow the flow of the energy, and surrender to the process. The North Node and Neptune are conjunct the star Shaat in Pegasus. I've talked about this before because it's just really profound. And with the eclipse, I think it's even more profound. It's about opening of the crown chakra and realizing during this time that we will be receivers and transmitters of cosmic messages. And something else really significant about this is that Saturn represents our consensus reality, what we all agree upon to be true. But in Pisces and Saturn is moving toward its conjunction with Neptune, and it's about dissolving into an awareness that there is the consensus reality is dissolving into an awareness. There is no longer just one reality that we are aware of. There's always been many realities, but I think with this eclipse, it's going to become more into our conscious awareness and to recognize that reality is shifting under our feet. Some are calling this a quantum reset or a quantum recalibration, and an awareness that we are living in multiple dimensions at once. And it is up to you and your frequency to decide which dimension you experience, which reality you experience. And the ability, the awareness that we are living in, that there is more than one reality, and the experience of alternate realities will bleed through at this blood moon energy. The veil is very thin at this time. And so you might find yourself kind of in a place of just feeling like you're not on solid ground as far as reality, and maybe not even feeling fully present in your body. Okay. And timelines are splitting. This is something that has been prophesied that would happen, and it is starting to happen now. And I feel like it's an awareness of this, uh, a, a more conscious awareness of this happening is people living in two or more different realities. And the question is, are you living from love or fear? That is what really determines your frequency and thus the reality that you are experiencing. Bashar has spoken of the two trains traveling together, and then the tracks separate, and how this is how he explains the timeline shift of a general split between a 3D and a 5D reality on a collective level. Unity consciousness is the nature of a fifth dimensional reality that is based in love. A third dimensional reality is based in separation from source and from each other. So there is a sense of it is the basis of love or fear, which is determining the reality that you're experiencing. And we may have things like deja vu and other experiences in these other realities. It is another step in the ascension process, and it is accelerated with this eclipse. Now, the Sabian symbol for the sun, I think, is very profound. And for those of you who don't know what the Sabian symbol is that a woman named Elsie Wheeler had a vision for every degree of the zodiac, and it often brings some um, uh, deepening of the understanding of what is trying to be said. So, anyway, was her vision for the degree of the sun, which is 24 degrees of Pisces. The tiny island seems lost in the broad ocean, but its happy inhabitants have created a world all of their own. Let me say that again. The tiny island seems lost in the broad ocean, but its happy inhabitants have created a world all of their own. So to me, this validates some level of timeline splitting. And it indicates coming together with others of a similar vibration and frequency to create a new world, a happy world. And that we can also be happy in the midst of the turmoil when we do. And that a new world is emerging. We may not see it yet, but it is there. So I feel like this is really a validating symbol. All right. Now let's talk about the eclipsed moon, okay? Because it is the Pisces Virgo axis that we're looking at a full moon. So the moon, which is conjunct the south node and the part of Earth, I believe its message, one of the major messages, is about the spiritual wisdom of discernment. Virgo is so much about discernment. Discernment is wisdom. It's the quality of being able to comprehend what is obscure and to determine what is true and what is not. And spiritual discernment is the process of distinguishing between what is spiritually beneficial and what is not. It's about recognizing deeper truths and understanding motivations behind decisions. This gift helps us to tune into inner guidance and to discern the subtle differences between genuine inspiration and misleading thoughts, right? What are these direct messages coming in from spirit and this guidance versus the stories our mind tells us? And believing what we want to believe. So it really helps us discern what is true spiritual guidance versus what is our ego speaking and is misleading. Okay, it helps us to determine the true nature of reality versus what is not in these times of shifting realities, because the only true reality is within our own consciousness. So they say the only way out is in. It is a great tool to help us find our way to our own inner truth, and it can bring inner clarity in the midst of outer chaos. It can bring us to a place of inner peace and calm where we can really see what is true. I love that analogy of the calm lake that has the acts as a mirror, and its truth can be seen. It's a reflection. In an emotional storm, we cannot see clearly. We just have one emotional reaction after another. So I feel like a spiritual discernment can lead us into a place of inner calm to where it's like looking into a clear lake. Um, and to know that truth is actually a vibration. You're not going to find truth with your mind. It's really well, your mind takes you there, but the truth lies in your heart, and it's a vibration that we feel, like when we get goosebumps, when we just know something is true. We just know it. Okay. And it also provides the ability to focus on what is important and not get so easily disturbed by distractions. Can bring mental clarity through critical thinking skills and not being swayed by emotional reactions. And to know the mind takes us there, but it is the heart that really knows what is true and what is not. It brings the gifts of clarity of thought, enhanced intuition and connection to authenticity of self, and spiritual growth through reflection and self-discovery. Now with Virgo, and it's this, it's conjunct the South Node, and so it can also bring up things that need to be healed and released and become aware of, and health issues are often related to Virgo, and it's a sign of health. And the thing about Virgo and the house that it rules, the sixth house, is that it's a very fine line between the mind-body connection. And so often it's really important to look at the emotional underpinnings of any health issues that may arise. And Virgo is very much related to GI issues as a result, or gastrointestinal, stomach, intestinal, as a result of worry and anxiety. And remember that worry is just a prayer to create what you don't want, to let it go. To, as they say, let that stuff go. Let that old stuff go. Okay. And anxiety is living in the future, and we're being asked to live in the present. It says to manage your mind. Don't stress out over things that are out of your control. And very little is actually in your control except your own response. So it asks us to let go of the need to control and trust the process. And the moon and the South Node, uh, it's about healing the inner critic, which is a form of fear and separation. Whereas, Pisces in the fifth dimension is very much, not Pisces, the fifth dimension is very much about love and unity. And so the inner critic is very much about separation. It's not feeling good enough somehow and keeps us in the old karmic patterns. So it could be a time of illumination of those old patterns and aligning and illuminating what is really true and who you really are, and leads to self-love. As we heal this, as we heal the inner critic, it can lead to self-love so we can trust ourselves and the guidance that we are being given by spirit. Another shadow of the Virgo Pisces axis shows us where we might feel like a victim, or where we may want to fix someone or something to being a rescuer. Know that that's also in the field. Let everyone have their own karmic experience. Stand back. We can have compassion, kindness, and empathy while not trying to fix someone or stepping into their problem. Okay. All right. Uranus in Taurus is trine the moon and sextile the sun. And so, what this says to me is that it's important to stay grounded, present in your body, and connected to Mother Earth in this chaotic energy. The outer world, I feel like what is happening, what this eclipse is showing us, is how to navigate the chaotic energy. We know the chaotic energy is there. Okay, because things are changing, things are crumbling. And eclipses are harbingers of change, and they show us where things are changing. But I feel like with the lunar eclipse is very much about guidance of how to navigate it, and it's changes within ourselves. And so it's like the storm is swirling around us. So be like the tree whose roots go deep into the ground, but also able to bend with the winds of change, or else the tree will break. Okay. It is the inner work of spiritual discernment will help create the changes in the outer world as we align with our own authenticity of self and inner truth. And it's also about an embodied spirituality. Inner healing opens energy channels and allows for more light to enter our bodies, and as we anchor it into Mother Earth. And to also know there's the potential for unexpected twists and turns in the plan, in the path, that actually bring opportunity. So don't try to control the process, let it flow. All right. So the traditional ruler of Virgo is Mercury. And so we have Mercury in Aries. Mercury is stationary at the eclipse, but within 24 hours goes retrograde. And the stationaries means that it's slowing down, getting ready to go retrograde. And so it's a very powerful placement. And Mercury is retrograde from, let's see, March 14, 15 until April 27th at Pisces 27 degrees. And so Mercury in Aries, our thoughts and ideas are pioneering. We tend to speak more spontaneously and directly. Okay. Our communication is direct, straightforward, honest, and uncomplicated, but maybe insensitive or blunt. That's kind of one of the shadows, but sometimes things just need to be said. Mercury in Aries about new ideas coming forth, thinking outside of the box. And when Mercury goes retrograde for those 3 weeks, and we know Mercury goes retrograde 3 weeks at a time, 3 times a year. And Mercury goes retrograde when we've gotten ahead of ourselves and we need to slow back and rethink things. And so during Mercury retrograde times, communications can slow down. There may be miscommunications. It's time to rethink, reassess, or re-examine decisions and choices. Think it through. Use our critical thinking skills, not just emotional reactions. And our ability to focus without being easily distracted actually improves during a Mercury retrograde time. Now, we also have Venus in Aries retrograde, which is conjunct this Mercury. Venus went retrograde March 1st or 2nd, depending on where you live, at 10 degrees, 49 minutes of Aries. And it's going to be retrograde until April 12th at Pisces, 24 degrees. This is very much the heroine's journey. Aries is the sign of the hero, is the very first sign of the zodiac, and it really starts the journey of the hero or the heroine. Okay. And in many ancient cultures, it was the descent of the goddess. Well, in Sumerian culture, it was actually the descent of the goddess, which is the descent of the goddess to the underworld, the descent of Inanna. And it's a 40-day journey to the underworld and back. And during that time, it is a time of deep transformation, meeting these deep parts of ourselves that are transformed by the experience. And Venus herself, the star Venus or the planet Venus, she's the brightest light in the sky. And she goes from being an evening star during this time and return and has a period of time of several weeks where she's uh, not seen in the sky. She's not visible. And becomes conjunct with the sun. That's when she's not visible. And then she returns as a morning star. And Aries is much more like a morning star than an evening star. Libra is much more like the evening star. And so the morning star is very much about a bold, courageous, and direct. In the Maya culture, they did a lot of their planning was done around the movement of Venus. And they would, if they were planning on going to war, they would go when Venus was a morning star because it's very much of like I said, a bold, courageous, and direct energy. And so what does this mean for us? I feel like what the journey is about, it's about we may find there is a stronger need for self-sovereignty in our relationships and a need to value ourselves by standing up for ourselves. In astrology, Venus represents love, self-love, and love of others. And so we may find that with Venus and Aries, it's about self-empowerment, especially in our relationships with others, and authenticity of self. How do we express our authentic self in the world? And Venus retrograde is about reassessing who and what we love, what we value, what is important to us. It is a time of focus on relationships. And a lunar eclipse is also very much about relationship focused. So it's the reevaluation of our relationships. Is this what you want in a relationship, or what do you want in a relationship if you're not in one? And does something need to change? Okay. It is a journey to heal any self-love, self-worth issues, and self-empowerment to be in charge of your own life while recognizing the rights of others. You could have the beginning of a new relationship show up during Venus retrograde, or you could have someone from your past with whom you have unfinished business from this lifetime or others show up during Venus retrograde. Now, Mercury and Venus are conjunct, which is and both retrograde, which is kind of unusual. It's not unusual for them to be conjunct, but it is unusual for them both to be retrograde at the same time and in the same sign and traveling so closely together. And so, Mercury and Venus conjunct in Aries is about reassessing our communication skills and connections with others. Because and how do we speak with courage and truth while being kind and considerate? We can do that. How to say difficult things that need to be said, have the courage to say them, and remain kind and not project anger on getting clear. How can we come into agreement? In my community, we're now really looking closely at consensus. It is a process that we have used for many years, which is about every voice being heard and then coming into agreement. And so how do we do that? How do we let each other speak, voice what is important to us? And then if we need to make a decision, how do we come to agreement? Okay, what will work for both of us? There is a lot of anger in the field right now. And so how do we own our own anger so that we're not projecting it onto others? Say, this is mine, this is and how do I deal with this? Number one, it's we want to really be careful of what we say because we can't take it back, and to really be thoughtful before we speak. And like I said, to own our projections and say, this is my anger, this is where this is coming from. I have a need that is not being addressed on some level, or there is a change that needs to be made. And how do I make the change without making someone else wrong? Okay. And I found something really interesting about a Mercury Venus conjunction. In Vedic astrology, it is what is called a Lakshmi yoga. And so if you have this in your chart or at this lunar eclipse, it is present. It brings wisdom, beauty, and abundance in whatever house this aspect lies. So where does Aries, basically 7 to 10 degrees, lie in your chart? And it has the potential to bring wisdom, beauty, and abundance. Okay. All right. The ruler of this Aries is Mars in Cancer. And Mars is still a really big player. As I talked about in my 2025 astrological forecast, the first part of the year is very much Mars focused. And Mars is a catalyst. Mars, kind of anything that's been lying under the surface, it really brings it to the surface to be dealt with. And it's a catalyst, it makes things pop. And Mars is about action, life force energy, passion, desire, life direction, and how we use our will. And in Cancer, it's protective, like a mama bear, but can be touchy and defensive and very security oriented. Chiron in Aries brings up our wounds around identity, personal sovereignty, courage to take risks and initiate action. When you have a Mars Chiron square, it is bringing up the transformation of old wounds so the energy can be used not just for safety and protection, but for following your heart's desire, what makes you come alive. I feel like this is the deepest meaning of this particular Mars retrograde event that has happened started on December 6th in 6 degrees of Leo. Mars is turned direct on February 23rd, and Mars will re-enter Leo on, I think it's April 18th, I think. Anyway, so it's, I really feel like that's what it has been about, is helping us find our direction as to what makes us come alive as we heal old wounds that are just sucking energy and life force out of us. Okay. All right. And we might find that our direction is changing since Mars went direct. The last aspect I'm going to talk about is Pluto in Aquarius and is conjunct Athena, the goddess of wisdom. And so to me, this is about authenticity of self, which impacts the collective consciousness as well as our own. Because as we are our authentic self, that energy ripples out into the world, allowing others to walk in the world with authenticity and aligned with truth. It's about self-empowerment, to stand in your truth and rise above the drama. This is the path to freedom. And Pluto is still conjunct the stars of Aquila, the eagle. And to me, it's still super important. It tells us the eagle is the only animal that flies into the storm to rise above it. And so it's like we do need to go through the storm to be able to get above it, to see the bigger picture of what is really happening. And as we raise our vibration, we can stay above the storm and not engage with it. And this is also asking each of us to step into our calling, our celestial call, our soul mission. What did we come to do? Who are we? What is our role in this ascension process? Not only raising our own vibration, but helping humanity raise its vibration. All right. Now, in conclusion, an eclipse, especially one that activates your natal chart, can be called what is called a lifequake, which is defined as a significant and unexpected shift in the trajectory of your life that initially feels devastating, but has the beneficial outcome of being a catalyst for personal growth, transformation, and rebirth. And those who have planets, I would say anywhere from 21 to 27 degrees of the Pisces Virgo axis, as well as I would say Gemini and Sagittarius as well. And it could be a little lesser, or a trine could also, it'd be not as life quaking, put it that way. All right. But that would be the earth signs of Taurus and what is the other earth sign? Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn. All right. So this blood moon represents renewal and rebirth, urging us to let go of old emotional patterns and habits. This blood moon can activate spiritual awakening as it allows us to connect deeply with the truth of who we are and reminds us the only way out is in. It is the inner world that is activated by this eclipse. Now, as major shifts in the outer world are taking place and the old paradigm is beginning to crumble. And I'm going to close with a quote from the International Council of the 13 Indigenous Grandmothers. They say, instead of traveling to a goal out there, you will voyage deeper into yourself. Your grandmothers, your mother's grandmother knew how to do this. Your ancestors from long ago knew how to do this. They knew the power of the feminine principle, and because you carry their DNA in your body, this wisdom and way of being is within you. Call upon your ancestors. Call on it, call it up, invite your ancestors in. As the yang-based habits and the decaying institutions of our planet begin to crumble, look up. A breeze is stirring. Feel the sun on your wings. All right. Well, wishing everyone a very powerful eclipse experience, and wishing you all many blessings in the coming weeks. And if you like this video, please check like and subscribe. And if you're interested in an astrology reading, I am still having a discount, and the information is in the description box. All right. Namaste and many blessings to all.